Hello there everyone, my name is Crystal Colors and I'm going to talk about why I think the Ashfur is possessing Bramblestar theory is stupid. Or well, more realistically, why I think it's very weak and who I think is the much more probable candidate. The number one thing that motivated me to work on this video is the fact that this theory is extremely popular because of Bright Guardian Akira's and Moon Kitty's videos. However, like I said, I personally believe this theory is very weak. Now, I'm not saying it's absolutely 100% not Ashfur. I mean, knowing the errands, literally anything is possible. However, I believe I have some very solid arguments against it, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to try to make this video go in order like this. First, I'm going to bring up the main arguments supporting the Ashfur theory and sort of debunking them. Then I'm going to bring up all my other arguments for why it can't be Ashfur by comparing the spirit's actions to what Ashfur could logically even achieve. And lastly, I'll talk about who I think it is and bring up all of my arguments as to why. So let's get started. So let's begin with my biggest pet peeve regarding this theory, and arguably the biggest argument used to support it, that being Kate Carey's hint. If you haven't heard, a user over on a Warriors forums or somewhere asked Kate about the newest arc, and Kate said that she won't reveal anything except, quote, the return of a controversial character. Lots of people use this as proof for why it's Ashfur. I mean, after all, Ashfur is controversial in both ways, both in the context of the books and both in the context of his place in the fandom. But to assume that Kate Carey was referring to the villain being the controversial character returning is just, well, wrong. It's not correct. Neither the question nor her answer specifically states villain. What I mean by that is the controversial character returning could be someone like Soul, returning and getting a redemption arc, not Soul's spirit possessing Bramblestar and being the main villain of the entire story. And I mean, yeah, that's possible too, but we cannot be sure, and you cannot only look at it that way. This hint also posed a problem of literally everyone in the fandom theorizing only with old villains we've had. I've seen theories claiming could be Soul, Darktail, Mapleshade, etc., etc., and I believe that really limits this arc's possibilities. After all, a Vision of Shadows had a fresh new villain, Darktail. So it's possible the Broken Code won't be bringing back any villains whatsoever and simply making an entirely new one. At least making an entirely new big main villain. I honestly, if the only way I would really like the Ashfur theory is if Ashfur played a very small role in the grand scheme of things. Anyways, as far as I've seen, no one really thinks that. I don't see that many people thinking that the controversial character returning isn't actually the villain. Now, obviously, the possibility that this hint Kate Carey gave us is actually not talking about the villain doesn't instantly claim it isn't Ashfur. It's still possible. Plus, there's other arguments supporting it. I think that's why it's so popular. Everything else in this is simple, fun assumptions, like the Mapleshade theory, while the Ashfur theory has some actual backup in the actual books themselves. The two main ones being fake Bramblestar being overly possessive of SQUIRRELFLIGHT and shadow-sized vision or visions. So for the SQUIRRELFLIGHT one, if you read the books, you know after Bramblestar dies and then gets possessed, he is seen to weirdly want SQUIRRELFLIGHT around, and this made lots of people believe that he is in love with her, despite the fact that we know this is not the real Bramblestar. This is what made me also think it's Ashfur when the book first came out. I mean, after all, why would any other cat want SQUIRRELFLIGHT like that besides the only other Tom we know was in love with her? However, it's not 100% confirmed that the spirit possessing Bramblestar is doing this because he loves SQUIRRELFLIGHT. The spirit might simply know Bramble and SQUIRRELFLIGHT are mates and therefore tries his best to make sure that his mate doesn't get suspicious by giving SQUIRRELFLIGHT special treatment, something you'd think mates would want to do. Also, SQUIRRELFLIGHT is deputy. Him desperately wanting her to be near him could be him trying to be more in control. I mean, after all, he's seen discouraging her from doing deputy duties, and that could be so that SQUIRRELFLIGHT can challenge him leadership-wise. Now, these are mainly assumptions. I simply brought this up to introduce a potential new perspective to look at, that fake Bramblestar isn't actually in love with SQUIRRELFLIGHT. However, I can even make the argument that even if the spirit is in love with SQUIRRELFLIGHT, I still don't think it can be Ashfur because Ashfur has been seen as calm and not caring about SQUIRRELFLIGHT, Bramblestar, or any of the three for years, like literal years, ever since Omen of the Stars. Even in SQUIRRELFLIGHT'S Hope, he's seen perfectly normal and chill, and with the way the new super editions have been releasing, aka they happen mid-arc and you basically need to read them, you think the Errands would have added some hints, at least in SQUIRRELFLIGHT'S Hope, by like, I don't know, not showing Ashfur at all, or something like Hollyleaf mentioning that she hasn't seen Ashfur in ages and he normally avoids everyone, just something like that, you know? Hints that wouldn't confirm him being any villain at all, but would give more reason to be suspicious. I mean, Ashfur being alone, sure, that means he might have been planning something, you know? However, there just isn't any hints, like, at all. There hasn't been any suspicious Ashfur activity shown in literal years now, so it doesn't really make sense for him to return like that, especially when he's acting completely different, and all of his actions don't seem to be adding up if we make the argument that he's doing this because of SQUIRRELFLIGHT. If he wants to get revenge on SQUIRRELFLIGHT, why give her special treatment to begin with? And if he wants to be with her even after all this time, why exile her in the end? Case in point, the spirit's actions do not add up with the way Ashfur would do things. Whichever motivation you take, revenge or him wanting to be with SQUIRRELFLIGHT, it just doesn't really work. So now on to the Shadow Sight visions. In the books, Shadowpaw sees a vision of Tigerheartstar and Bramblestar fighting in fire as ash flutters around him, and then another vision of the clans getting destroyed by flames. Now, I see why these make people think it's Ashfur, as Ashfur is related to Ash, obviously, and he is famous for the fire scene. However, these visions don't exactly prove much. The whole flame thing, at least to me, just seems like a different way of showing the clan's destruction, like how in A Vision of Shadows we have the storm vision to show that the clans will get destroyed by a giant storm if SkyClan leaves. And the ash fluttering around just seems like the errand describing the scene, as it is a massive epic fight happening in a fire. And yeah, that's about it. There's really not much else to say here. I never really thought these were the strongest arguments to begin with. So now we've gone through all of those points, I'm gonna go into more detail as to why I think this theory doesn't work. Just sort of bring up my own points, not exactly anyone else's, and then like debunking them, just pointing out things that kind of push the idea that this theory doesn't really work. Firstly, Ashfur has absolutely no business knowing how to do any of this. To claim Ashfur possessed Bramblestar would be claiming he somehow knew and was capable of doing that when it is very unlikely. Ashfur is confirmed to be a StarClan cat, and as far as I've seen, a lot of people think that's the case. They don't think he's a ghost or a Dark Forest cat, they're very sure he's a StarClan cat, and we've never heard of StarClan cats having the ability to possess bodies before. I guess the closest thing we ever really got is reincarnation with Cinderpelt, but that was a much different process, as Cinderpelt's body basically fused with Cinderheart's and then also left when she was alive. It all honestly kind of looked like destiny, especially when Cinderpelt knew she was going to die. It was also done by the quote-unquote higher rank in StarClan, like, I don't know, Yellowfang and Bluestar, so I doubt Ashfur could get any information on that either, if we are to claim that StarClan has the ability to possess cats to begin with because of reincarnation knowledge. This also technically debunks the concept of remaining potentially alive Dark Forest cats like Mapleshade or Thistleclaw possessing Bramblestar, as well, since they're in the Dark Forest just as StarClan cats are in StarClan, and they're also even more unlikely to know how to possess cats. I mean, we don't know exactly what it takes to possess a cat's body. After all, this is like the first time we hear of this. The only thing we can confidently say is that in order to possess a cat, their spirit has to leave their body first, which can be achieved by killing them, and the spirit seemingly succeeded in doing this entirely because StarClan is silent. Speaking of StarClan being silent, we don't know why they're silent, but we can only assume they're not doing this on purpose. Ashfur is a StarClan cat, so why would he ever be able to communicate with the clans if no other StarClan cat can? Another small point to make is that the spirit possessing Bramblestar is hinted throughout the narrative to not be familiar with things, such as getting surprised by the smell of herbs and mixing up cat names. Now, I know it's been years since Ashfur's death, so him not remembering stuff like names of certain cats would be explained by this. However, he's unlikely to be surprised by the scent of herbs specifically, so that lack of knowledge can easily hint towards this not being a clan cat at all. And lastly, this is something I completely didn't even know myself, but I found out through the wiki that Rootpaw is described to have, quote, noticed a dark shadow hanging over Bramblestar when he died, suggesting that the imposter had been stalking the leader. Now, why does this prove it isn't Ashfur? Well, because, as we found out, Rootpaw has inherited the ability to see ghost cats just like his father, Tree. So if it is a StarClan spirit or like an evil StarClan spirit, Rootpaw wouldn't have seen that at all. But he did certainly see something, which perfectly segues into my next part, who I think is possessing Bramblestar. And my friends, it is absolutely none other than a ghost cat. Now, I don't have a specific character in mind, but I strongly believe that the cat possessing Bramblestar is not an evil StarClan spirit, not a dark forest cat, but specifically a ghost cat. Any ghost cat. Now, why is that? Well, let's start out with the most important fact, that being A Vision of Shadows, SQUIRRELFLIGHT'S Hope, and now the current Broken Code arc have all done something to develop this new thing in the Warriors universe called ghost cats. It's something new that we've never seen before. It is an entirely new concept. We saw this all start in A Vision of Shadows, where an important character that's also part of a StarClan prophecy, Tree, is found out to be a magical cat with the ability to see and summon ghost cats. Specifically ghost cats because they're not StarClan spirits, but ghosts wandering around the woods. They don't live in some other place like StarClan do. They're just wandering around the actual real-life forest. Either because they're dead rogues or, like Needletail and Pebbleshrine, clan cats who simply chose to not go to StarClan because of whatever reasons. Then, in SQUIRRELFLIGHT'S Hope, we were introduced to the Sisters, a group of she-cats led by their leader, Moonlight, that all raise kids and live together, who also all have the ability to see ghost cats. Unlike clan cats who only have their medicine cats communicate with their ancestors and usually through Moonpool only, the Sisters just casually see their ancestors everywhere at random times. And their ancestors don't seem to have a specific place to go to after their death. They just stick around like that. That just seems to be a part of their culture, I guess. Also, Moonlight is Tree's mother, which explains why Tree has that ability to begin with. It's because seemingly any cat born to the Sisters has it. And now lastly, the new Broken Code arc not only has a main protagonist with the same exact ability, in the preview we also saw Spiresight again, who is none other than a ghost cat. So my question here is this. Why spend so many books developing this new thing that the Errands clearly want to push, and then only use it for minor character interactions and plot conveniences only? The answer is simple. No one would, not even the Errands. And now it's not just this factor that further pushes the idea it's a ghost cat. Think back to literally everything I said debunking the Ashfur theory. It would all be explained by being a ghost cat. Knowing how to possess cats? Simple! Ghosts are known for that. In everything. You don't see vampires in the media possessing someone's body or evil angels or something. It is only ghosts. So you'd logically give this ability to something that's extremely close to a ghost in your story. What about StarClan being silent? Well, ghost cats aren't StarClan. What about fake Bramblestar not knowing the clan's ways well or knowing them in a very narrow way? Well, it's a ghost, meaning it's not even a clan cat, so of course he wouldn't know. Besides, the basic stuff like Bramblestar's relationships that he could have easily stuck, as I've mentioned before, the whole thing Rootpaw saw. And hell, we could even push a motive out of this. Clearly, the cat possessing Bramblestar does not actually give a shit about the code, and it's all a distraction. That's just a way for him to destroy the clans or throw them into chaos. And why would someone do that? Well, like I said, I don't know a specific cat, but since I know it isn't a clan cat, then of course a non-clan cat would be very easily wronged by the clan's ways. Maybe like annoyed with their rules, maybe not accepted because of said rules. I mean, we've all seen this before. The clan cats in the books are constantly pushing the idea that their way of life is the best. How in Tigerheart's Shadow, Tigerheart finds a group of cats and converts like more than half of them into his holy religion. Because of the errands doing this crazy new thing called actually bringing up the fact that the code is extremely fucking flawed, it would make sense that they would also bring this up. This whole clan cats pushing their ways onto others. For a rogue cat whose family like abandoned them or something for the clans, or whose life was disturbed because of the clans bursting through the doors and flexing their claws and talking about how great they are, like, it would make sense for why they dislike the clan so much. It would make sense why they would want to do all of this. None of what I just listed as any actual, like, legitimate theories, just speculation and just ideas for potential motives that would be realistic for a dead rogue ghost cat, potentially. If I were to point fingers at any specific character that could be the one possessing Bramblestar, I would say either somehow one of the sisters secretly, or Darktail, preferably. I just really like Darktail, but my hopes for like the errands to make him return are pretty slim, though it is technically one of the more solid theories if you take all of this into account. I mean, his whole ordeal is literally despising clans and wanting them destroyed. His mother literally raised him to hate the clans. He's also a non-clan cat that's dead, and dead specifically because of the clans. It would just be perfect. The only major flaw I guess I could see with this theory is that it would be weird for Darktail to want to possess Bramblestar and not, like, some cat in Wind Clan because his father is from Wind Clan. But like I said, this isn't a solid theory. I don't really have anything else much to say from it other than I would really like it for it to be Darktail. So, I think that's it. I think that's all I really had to say about this. I think I'm actually finally done, which, let's be real, I really should be by now because holy shit, this video is like almost 20 minutes long. I had absolutely no idea I could scream about fictional cats for that long, let alone Ashfur out of all the fictional cats possible. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it's, like, not that great. This is my first time ever making a video like this, so yeah, flaws are probably very common. I'm sorry if I stammer a lot in a few places. I cannot be bothered to re-record this many times. Please don't hurt me, I'm baby. Also, sorry for the pretty shit audio. This is all, like, recorded on my phone without a pop filter or anything, so, I still hope you'll manage to enjoy the video, though. And feel free to share who you think it is, and if you disagree or agree with me, just feel free to share your thoughts, though I feel like I should mention it. Please be at least remotely civil about it in the comments. I'm not here to shit on anyone who still thinks it's Ashfur. After all, these are just theories, so none of us can actually really be right until the arc is complete, so please don't start any massive fights in the comments. That would be very nice of you. Okay, thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.